Hello, I'm Megan Carter, and along with Bobby Ibarra, I'm co-president of the League of Women Voters of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County. On behalf of the League, I am pleased to welcome you to this candidate forum sponsored in partnership with Rutherford County Television, MT Law, and Delta Sigma Theta Sorority. This forum can be viewed on AT&T UVerse Channel 99, Xfinity Channel 19, DTC Channel 194, and YouTube RCTV Live. We hope the broadcasting and streaming of the forum by the county on so many different platforms will reach the largest number of interested voters. The League believes that televised and streamed candidate forums provide an excellent opportunity for voters to become more familiar with the candidates and their positions. If you agree, please express your opinion about the value of candidate forums to the individuals seeking your vote. The League seeks to conduct our forums in a nonpartisan manner. Key participants, especially the moderator, are never publicly aligned with any particular candidate or political party. In the upcoming August 1st election, citizens of Rutherford County will be voting to elect, among other positions, several Rutherford County School Board members, several City of Murfreesboro Council members, as well as many Tennessee General Assembly House and Senate primary district candidates. Early voting begins July 12th and runs through July 27th. If you have questions about voting, including obtaining an absentee ballot for the August 1st election, please visit the Rutherford County Election Commission webpage to learn more. We thank you for your attention as you hear these candidates introduce themselves and answer questions about pertinent issues facing Rutherford County and our state. We hope you find this forum useful in deciding which candidates you choose to support. Your vote gives you a prime opportunity to influence how government is conducted in the City of Murfreesboro, Rutherford County, and our State General Assembly. Thank you for joining us, and remember, your vote counts.
Good evening. My name is Bobby Ibarra, and as Megan said, I am her co-president. For those of you who may be familiar with our past forums, this one is a bit different. In the past, if we did not have at least 2 candidates for each race participating, then we would not host a forum for that particular elected office. This time, we have decided to proceed with hosting a forum whether or not we have 2 candidates participating for each seat. The reason for this policy change is that we have altered our perspective just a bit. We truly believe that the League's mission is to educate and inform all voters on all candidates running. So, if a candidate does not participate because they have a conflict or simply choose not to attend, then we believe it remains our responsibility to share whatever voter information we can for those candidates that are able and willing to attend. It is important to note that we will always remain committed to being a nonpartisan organization. So we hope tonight you will really get some true insights from the candidates, the 8 candidates that are before you this evening. And we hope it will help determine how you choose to vote. We want to again thank you so much for taking your vote seriously and being with us this evening. And now I will turn it over to the moderator.
Good evening. My name is Heather Parker, and I will serve as moderator for this candidate forum. This forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Murfreesboro and Rutherford County, the Middle Tennessee Lawyers Association for Women, and the Rutherford County Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, and the Rutherford County Government Access Channel. Please be advised that the League of Women Voters, MT Law, and the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority are all nonpartisan organizations that study and take positions on issues and do not support, endorse, or oppose any candidate, party, or political appointee. It is my pleasure to welcome both our audience here at the Rutherford County Courthouse and our viewers at home to this program. This candidate forum involves asking a series of questions that were developed by the League of Women Voters, its co-sponsors, and with some community input. This evening, we will be hearing remarks from the candidates for the Tennessee General Assembly representing Rutherford County. And now I will introduce the candidates for the various districts. House District 13, Jami Averwater and Jonathan Yancey. Robert Stevens advised that he had a prior engagement. House District 34, Tucker Marcum and Amelia Pant. Tim Rudd did not respond to the invitation to participate. House District 37, Cheri Brown. Charlie Baum did not respond to the invitation to participate. House District 48, Matt Ferry. Brian Terry did not respond to the invitation to participate. House District 49, Luis Mata. Mike Sparks did not respond to the invitation to participate. And Senate District 14, E.R. Smith. Shane Reeves advised that he had a prior engagement. Now, I would like to outline the procedure for the forum. Each candidate will be asked to make an opening statement in a 2-minute period. When all candidates have completed the opening statement, then several additional questions will be asked. Each candidate will be asked the same question. The candidates will respond to each of those questions with a 1-minute answer. The candidates will be allowed 2 minutes to answer the last question and make any closing remarks. There is a timekeeper to assist in keeping us all on track. As a reminder, there will be no audience participation during the forum, and we ask for everyone's cooperation in providing a welcoming and impartial environment. And now to hear from our candidates. First, I want to thank all of you candidates who are present for your acceptance of our invitation to participate in this event. If you'll please give a brief introduction of yourself and why the voters should speak for you. Speaking first is Jami Averwater. Ms. Averwater, you may make your opening statement. You will have 2 minutes.
Thank you, Heather. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the League of Women Voters for having us here this evening. I was honored to accept the invitation. I am running for State House because I believe the people of District 13 deserve someone who is accessible, who will listen to them, and who will work to address the issues that we face in District 13 every day. I currently serve on the Murfreesboro City Council, where I have been an advocate for smart growth and local businesses. I'm an attorney here in Murfreesboro, a small business owner, and I oversee the day-to-day operations of 15 employees. I know firsthand how government can impact the middle class. Every decision made at the state legislature affects each of my employees, and that is why I am passionate about this position. I've been an effective leader in my 2 years on the City Council, and I will continue to fight for those conservative economic principles in the General Assembly. And again, I'm so honored for the invitation to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Mr. Yancey, you may make your opening statement.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you all. I want to thank the League of Women Voters. I want to also thank MT Law. And to the Sisters of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Appreciate y'all being out here as well. My name is Jonathan Yancey. I am running to be the state representative for District 13. I am a career educator. I am a small business owner. I'm also a school bus driver here in Rutherford County, and so I'm very proud of that. I think it's interesting that we had non-responsiveness from our elected officials. That's actually the reason, one of the many reasons why I'm running, because our elected officials have been unresponsive. So I think that's ironic that today they've been the voices that they have not come out here to be responsive to this. I want to take a little bit of time to shout out the district a little bit. I want to tell those in Eagleville that I see you. In Smyrna, I hear you. Rockville and Blackman, I'm your neighbor. And Laverne, you're a special city to me. I spent a lot of time in your city. I know how it is to be forgotten and not talked about and not considered. That's very much my experience in my life, and I thank you for investing in me because you all have. There's a lot of Laverne people out here tonight, and so just want to say to you all, thank you for accepting me and welcoming me into your city, and I look forward to being your next state representative. Thank you.
Mr. Marcum, you can make your opening statement.
Good evening. Appreciate the league for putting this on this evening. I think it's very important that folks are given an opportunity to hear directly from their elected officials and candidates for public office, ask them questions, especially nowadays when it seems like you need a search warrant and a SWAT team to be able to find or get a hold of some of these folks currently in office. I think it's a very important opportunity to answer questions and hear directly where candidates and elected officials stand on various issues. Running for state representative to tackle the real issues facing Rutherford County, to be accessible, to be present, to really feel the weight of the fact that you have 75,000 people that are paying you to be doing a job, and you have to prioritize them and not the silk suit wearing lobbyists and special interest groups in Nashville. Born and raised in Rutherford County, grew up in Rockvale, attended Eagleville, Rockvale, Central Magnet School, all for different periods of time. Currently work in energy development, contract with energy development companies to work on project approval and permitting process for various projects, particularly in the South. Also serve as vice chairman of the Rutherford County Public Building Authority, which has been a great opportunity. We manage and oversee the construction of Rutherford County's public buildings, and has been a great opportunity to be watchful over taxpayer dollars, and also a good intro at just how frustrating government can be at times. Looking forward to answering questions, and thank y'all again for putting this on.
Ms. Pant, you may make your opening statement.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for putting on this forum, because I agree we need to give every opportunity for the public to be an informed and engaged electorate. And so I'm so happy to be here to tell everyone about myself. I do not have a very robust history of political involvement. However, I've been a passionate citizen my entire life. And the last time I was in this room was in January, when I sat in the balcony and I watched our breakdown of communication between our county government and our state delegates. And I knew in that moment that I was going to run for office. That was the night that I knew. And so I want you all to know I have a mixed bag of occupations. I have been a CNA. I have been a certified nursing assistant in rural nursing homes. I put myself through college serving tables. I graduated with a degree in journalism and religious studies, so I know what a good source looks like. I also know how to connect with people on a range of culture and lifestyle. And then after college, I started working in property management as a leasing agent and a maintenance coordinator. So I have seen firsthand how corporations tend to, they do not serve the middle class, and our systems are not really set up to serve the greater good. And I am a mother to a wonderful 5-year-old daughter who's here tonight, and she starts public school next year. And so I am here to show her that women can run for office and win and do well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Brown, you may make your opening statement.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Cheri Brown, your Democratic candidate for State House District 37, which includes the MTSU area of Murfreesboro and continues north up to and including parts of eastern Smyrna. I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters of Murfreesboro-Rutherford County and the co-sponsors, Middle Tennessee Lawyers Association for Women and the Rutherford County Alumni Chapter of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, for hosting this forum in spite of not having the full slate of eligible candidates. I am a single, disabled, low-income former warehouse worker who has raised my own disabled and foster children and currently cares for my disabled adult daughter. I have been low income for most of my life, living with the same struggles as many of my neighbors. I will be a strong advocate for low income and working class residents, the disabled, and our elderly, because, unlike my opponent, I have personal lived experiences navigating life struggles. There is a reason I drive a 21-year-old pickup truck. Too many of our people are hurting here in Rutherford County. I think Tennessee's 2024 State of Our County report contains some sobering statistics, such as 11.2% of women, 7.3% of seniors, and 11.8% of children are living in poverty. 7.8% of our children are food insecure, and a staggering 17.4% of children receive public assistance. All is not well here in Rutherford County. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Ferry, you may make your opening statement.
Hey, everybody. My name is Matt Ferry, and I am running for State House in District 48, which is pretty much the eastern half of Rutherford County. This is the 4th time that I'm running for this seat, and as they say, 4 times a charm, so this one's going to do it. No, I'm running again and again and again because I believe that our state elected officials have not done the right thing. They have held a supermajority for the past 14 years, and what I see from them is passing bills to help the very rich in our state and not helping everyone else. Everyone else just gets the crumbs. I believe that as voters, we expect our elected officials to be going to Nashville to work on our behalf, but they are not doing that at all. If they were, I think they would expand Medicaid. That is one of the many reasons why I'm running. Over 15 rural hospitals have closed in Tennessee because we have not accepted this federal aid. There is lots of different issues in the state, and I won't go over them right now, but as a former chair of the Democratic Party, I want to see change in this state, and I believe that that we can change, that we can do better for the people. You know, another issue that I'm passionate about is schools. We're not fully funding our schools. We've been chronically underfunding our schools for years. And now the leadership wants to pass a voucher bill that will further defund our schools. So I am against a voucher bill, and I am against defunding schools. I want to see our schools fully funded. I want to see our hospitals fully funded. The money is there. We don't have to spend it giving it tax breaks to FedEx or GE or any of the other million-dollar corporations that, you know, they have to pay their fair share to help us all out. So anyway, my name is Matt Ferry again, and I'm running for District 48 State House. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Mata, you may make your opening statement.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I just want to start off by saying thank you to the League of Women Voters, MT Law, and y'all know I love my Deltas, so thank you all so much for creating this space for us here today. I am Luis Mata. I am, over the last decade, have been on the front lines fighting to advance and protect the rights and the freedoms of everyday working Tennesseans with the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition. I'm a proud immigrant, and I'm a proud Tennessean, and I'm the proud Democratic nominee, presumptive Democratic nominee for the Tennessee State House of Representatives here in District 49. I was raised by a single immigrant working mother who 25 years ago made the difficult yet courageous decision to leave everything that we knew and loved behind in Mexico for an opportunity at a better life right here in Tennessee. I watched her work days cleaning houses and nights as a seamstress, making sure that we always had everything that we needed. And she instilled in me the values of hard work, resilience, and the unyielding belief that change does not come to those who wait, but to those who fight for it. And those same extremist lawmakers who are currently, back then, passing regressive policies that forced our family and I to lack access to health care, driver's license, and state tuition are the same ones who are working tirelessly to defund our public schools, arming our teachers, causing our property taxes to go up here in Rutherford County, and driving us further apart. And I'm running because I have lived the issues that so many of us hardworking families here in Rutherford County face each and every day, and I believe that those closest to the issues should be the ones closest to the solutions. And I'm running because we deserve leaders who will fight to protect and invest in our public schools and in our infrastructure, protect to advance our freedoms, and fight for working families. As we say in Spanish, la unión hace la fuerza. In unity there is strength. And I'm ready to go up to our state capitol to fight for working families and to restore balance and to make sure that Rutherford County is a place that works for working families. Thank you all.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, you may make your opening statement.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Roundtree Smith, E.R. Smith. You can call me Beth.
I'm from Tennessee. I was born in Nashville. I graduated from McGavock High School in 1975 and MTSU in 1980. My degree was in agriculture. I'm the plant lady. I have a secondary degree in secondary education. For over 20 years, I ran my own business out of my home while I was taking care of my roommate and my son. My roommate lived to be 102 in her own home. It is an amazing thing, and it is an accomplishment I could not have considered today, because now all the home health care is gone. I really didn't know that until a few months ago, which is one of the reasons I'm running today. The other reason is because for the past 2 years, I have met so many young people who have told me they don't vote. They don't vote because they say they don't matter. They say that the people in office don't care about them, don't care about their needs, don't work for them. So I'm running to tell everyone you do matter, and your vote does matter. And that's my message today. Now, what issues we have today in Tennessee have been going on for quite a few years now. It makes my blood boil when I think about the billions of dollars that the Tennessee legislators have refused in the past 10 years. So much money for education, for health care. It's just unbelievable. I can't even believe that I'm standing here. I'm sorry, I didn't see the notice. I told you, I warned you.
Thank you very much. We will now turn to our first question. This question will be answered first by Mr. Yancey. You will have 1 minute to answer this question. Mr. Yancey, what do you see as the biggest environmental challenge facing our state, and how would you address it?
Water quality. You may remember years ago in East Tennessee, we had the coal ash drop off in our waterways out there. Some may not know, but in Gallatin, there's actually a facility for which we're holding coal ash there that is contaminating the groundwater. That groundwater spreads into the waters that we drink and play in and fish in. And so that's a big concern for me. I do want to give some credit, though, to the Harpeth River Conservancy, who has done a fantastic job with the Harpeth River, which actually starts in Eagleville. So it can be done. We can take care of water quality around here.
Thank you. Mr. Marcum, what do you see as the biggest environmental challenge facing our state, and how would you address it?
I think stormwater management is one of the largest issues we're facing as a state and also as a local community. First and foremost, getting to the legislature, wanting to build really solid relationships inside the Tennessee Department of Environment. I think that is very important to bridge the divide between our local watershed folks as well as with the state folks who live and breathe it every single day. You have to encourage folks to provide, have to encourage good relationships and ability to work together between the state and the local watershed associations to address these issues. I think it's very important. I think we have to encourage collaboration with industry and also enforcement from the Tennessee, from the TDEC standpoint of it as well, which I think has been missing.
Thank you. Ms. Pant, what do you see as the biggest environmental challenge facing our state, and how would you address it?
Well, I believe that our farmland is disappearing. Thousands of acres, 22,000 acres have disappeared from Rutherford County for development reasons, and then when they build on and develop, they're not keeping our ecosystems in mind, stormwater management. And also the quality of our soil and the quality of our water is quickly deteriorating, and we really need to start getting creative about solutions to those problems so that we can make sure our environments and our food sources and our ecosystems are preserved so that my daughter has a beautiful place to call home in 15 years.
Ms. Brown, what do you see as the biggest environmental challenge facing our state, and how would you address it?
Well, I believe, like Jonathan Yancey, one of the biggest environmental challenges facing Tennessee is the issue of water pollution, particularly our rivers and streams. Agricultural runoff, industrial discharge, and urban development all contribute to contamination of water sources affecting both our ecosystems and our human health. I would strengthen regulations on industrial and agricultural discharges and enforce compliance with existing environmental laws. Protecting our wetlands and our buffers by providing funding and support for conservation, and encouraging the folks that are farming to pay attention to what they're putting into the water.
Thank you. Mr. Ferry, what do you see as the biggest environmental challenge facing our state, and how would you address it?
Well, there's a lot of different environmental challenges, and I think that illegal dumping is a big challenge for us. As you know, some of these companies can dump their stuff into the river and just be charged a little bit of a fine, and they go on their way. They're a billion-dollar company. They can do whatever they want, and sometimes they treat Tennessee as a dumping ground. Actually, historically, they've treated Tennessee as a dumping ground. I have been an advocate for solid waste management here in Rutherford County. I have worked against the expansion of the landfill. We have the largest municipal dump in the state in northern Rutherford County, and you know, that company, they just want to bury stuff. They don't really care about what is happening to the water or the soil or the air in that area. So I think we have lots of challenges, but I think that we can work on this and have a healthier community. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mata, what do you see as the biggest environmental challenge facing our state, and how would you address it?
Yeah, well, I think first and foremost, we need to be clear that our climate is indeed changing, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. Climate change is real, and it is happening right now as we speak. I'll agree with the folks up here that, you know, water pollution, dumping are important, but also I think that as we think proactively, we have to be thinking about property insurance. We're seeing this here in Tennessee and across the state where greedy insurance corporations and companies are playing shady schemes and putting profits over people, and we have to make sure that we are, as homeowners and as renters, keeping our head on a swivel and making sure that we are prioritizing the needs of the community. We also have to make sure that we are passing legislation in our state capitol that protects workers from extreme heat. We also have to make sure that we are passing legislation that ensures that folks have equitable recovery efforts here in the state.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, what do you see as the biggest environmental challenge facing our state, and how would you address it?
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for asking. Let's start with water. We have some serious issues with our water. In fact, the Tennessee River has more plastic particulates in it than the River Seine in Europe. It's remarkable. Now, it's been 30 years since I took a film of Agripost. It was a company in South Florida that was taking 96% of municipal waste and composting it and turning it into a product called AgriSoil. What a brilliant idea. Dollywood currently is about the only place in Tennessee that's doing that kind of process. That would be very helpful. I'd love to get into hemp and how it cleans the soil just by growing, cleaning the toxins out of the soil, which would also improve our water. And please stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Averwater, what do you see as the biggest environmental challenge facing our state, and how would you address it?
I believe that our solid waste issue is our biggest environmental threat, particularly here in Middle Tennessee. We need a method of disposing of our household trash while our community continues to grow. So I've worked closely with third parties to determine an environmentally friendly and a budget-friendly solution to dispose of that household trash that we collect every single week. The city of Murfreesboro picks up trash, the county has the dumps, and it all goes into a local landfill. So we need a different solution that doesn't involve expanding that landfill. We all know that there are environmental consequences of having a landfill so close to our drinking water and where our children play. So I look forward to sharing what I've learned during my time on City Council with my colleagues in the General Assembly.
Thank you. Our next question will be answered first by Mr. Marcum. You'll have 1 minute to answer this question. How do you propose to address the state legislators' unwillingness to consider allowing local governments, such as Rutherford County, from implementing an impact tax on development to increase resources for education?
Thank you for the question. This is the largest issue Rutherford County is facing. We are in crisis level with how we are going to pay for the cost of services that the county provides that I'd like to remind folks are constitutionally and statutorily mandated that they provide, yet they do not have the autonomy to choose how they will pay for that. I think first and foremost, you got to build good relationships with your local elected officials and folks on the county commissions. I'm honored to be endorsed by over 15 local elected Republican officials. I think that is a good sign of my ability to be able to go to Nashville and work with folks up there to tackle this issue and get it over the finish line. So many issues tied to it. We're $800 million behind capital projects for schools as a county before you even factor in the additional infrastructure needs, fire, sheriff, EMS, et cetera. And we have to get something over the finish line and work for a solution that benefits the folks in Rutherford County and not the lobbyists and special interest in Nashville.
Thank you. Ms. Pant?
This was the biggest question at that meeting in January, and I saw my opponent pass the buck. He said that it is difficult to get something like this passed because you have to have compromises and you have to make it where legislators in more rural parts of the state want to sign on to this. And so that showed me that he doesn't have very much skill in working with his fellow legislators in Tennessee. And so I really want to put as much power as I can in that seat to cultivate relationships with fellow legislators and fight, because this is one of our biggest needs in Rutherford County, growing exponentially. Something has to happen, and we're all in agreement here. Everyone in 34 is talking about this right now, and so I am going to fight as hard as I can to get the same power as the municipalities.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Yes, thank you. I'm going off my script here. In doing the research on this last night, I came across Senate Bill 3310 from April 1996. And it reads in part, "The continued growth experienced by Rutherford County represents an extraordinary economic opportunity for the state of Tennessee as a potential economic burden on existing residents of Rutherford County." So the most logical, fair, and effective mechanism to accomplish the intended result is the imposition of new privilege tax on new development in Rutherford County. So this was 28 years ago. It appears to me that Rutherford County has a big problem and needs some help. I guess I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Mr. Ferry?
So the question is about eliminating this tax, is that correct?
The question is, how do you propose to address the state legislators' unwillingness to consider allowing local governments, such as Rutherford County, from implementing an impact tax on development to increase resources for education?
Right. Thank you so much for repeating that. I believe that our state legislators are not doing enough. They're not having enough communication with our local leaders, whether it's the city councils or the county commission. I don't think they're very interested in reducing the cost of housing in Rutherford County. The growth has been good, but with that has become a lot of problems, and I don't think they're really interested in tackling any of these problems. I think when they're in Nashville, it's out of sight, out of mind, And, we're the 5th largest county in Tennessee, and they say we're going to be the 4th one here in the next 5 or 10 years. So we need to take some action to make sure that we grow in the right way and we're not leaving behind the residents that are already here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Mata?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to address the fact that state preemption has been a growing issue in recent years from our state leaders. And right now, also for years, we have seen how county mayors across the state have been going and pleading to our state leaders for action, right? We know that Rutherford County is the fastest growing county in the state, and our current leadership continues to kick the can, forcing our property taxes to go up. That is not a solution. We need to be making sure that we are working together with our local leaders. And, I know that the feelings are mixed on impact fees, but the reality is that now is the time to make sure that we are acting and working together with our local leaders to ensure that we do something, right? And that right there, what we've seen across the state and across the country are impact fees, right, that are based on project value rather than on a flat rate, and making sure that we are doing what we can to go up to our state legislature and make sure that developers and big corporations are paying their fair share so that working families aren't the ones that are footing the bill.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Well, I should begin by saying my district is larger than Rutherford County. In fact, it's just the eastern sliver of Rutherford County, and it includes Cannon County, Bedford County, and Moore County. I'm sure that all of these people have similar concerns in one way or another. So when I researched this, I noticed they have increased the price per square foot on impact fees, but I also noticed that they've changed the collection of those impact fees that's going to affect the county of Rutherford for at least a couple of years. They've also lost a grant that's been in place for several years, which is going to cost the county another $5 or $6 million this year. And I hate to overlook the $1.3 million that our legislators have refused from the federal government for education. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Averwater?
I think no matter what question we discuss tonight, the overarching theme here is we need our state delegation to work with our local governments. And I've seen firsthand on local government how that is not happening, and it is not helping us find solutions. We have a traffic problem in Rutherford County, without a doubt, and it's growing every single day. My opponent has failed to assist us here in Rutherford County in the funding that we need. Meanwhile, on City Council, I voted to fund over $80 million to road improvements for the people of Murfreesboro, and we need that advocacy on the state level. But we need to do whatever it takes to get to the table and find a solution to alleviate our infrastructure stress. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yancey?
The county should be able to leverage whatever options they have to make sure they can pay for whatever they need. I agree. I think we've heard that there needs to be relationships being built and working together in collaboration. And after talking with many elected officials around here, that's not happening at the state level to the local level, and I think that's disappointing. As a county resident, I just experienced a property tax hike, and the county shouldn't have to only rely on that to pay for these needs, especially when surrounding counties have this access to increase, and then also you have the elected officials asking for it. It just doesn't make sense to me that we would not have an opportunity to talk through that, again, when the municipalities and the surrounding counties are having the ability and we cannot in the county.
Thank you. Our next question will be answered first by Ms. Pant. You will have 1 minute to answer this question. What is your position on school vouchers?
I am 100% against school vouchers. Public dollars need to stay in public schools. And as a mom with a daughter starting public school this year, it's very important to me that we stress that private school is a privilege, but not every child can have that privilege, and we really need to make sure that our public schools are robust, that they're serving everyone, that they're equitable, that our children have a safe place to learn and a place that fosters their growth, a place that fosters a lifelong love of learning. And they're not going to do that if they're severely underfunded, and if and we already saw the voucher system fail in Arizona. We've had both of our school boards reject this, and our state delegates are not listening to them. I'm very passionate about this. Thanks.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
School vouchers are nothing more than a very lucrative tax break for parents who already have the financial ability to send their child or children to private schools. It also takes critical public school funding away from our schools. They're underfunded. Representative Charlie Baum has voted to support school vouchers and is all for school choice. I currently do not have children or young children.
Oh, you have 30 more seconds.
Oh. I'm sorry, I saw the paper and I said, oh, that was it. I currently don't have children in our school system, and for many years I have not paid attention to our school system, but boy, has that changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ferry?
Thank you for the question. It is important to fully fund our public schools. We have been chronically underfunding them for years, and this voucher program is going to further defund them. So I'm very much against it. Like Ms. Cheri said, this money is taking from public schools and giving it to very expensive, unaccountable private schools. And that does not help us. That only helps the very rich. That only helps the elite. It's like a giant tax cut. You know, I'm not going to subsidize you to buy a car. I'm not going to subsidize you to pay for your kid's fancy school. And at the end of the day, our schools, our public schools, deserve to be in 21st century buildings. They deserve to have resources, and that is not happening. The state level, again, on the state level, we are defunding schools across the board, and we have been doing it for years. And, you know, I'll tell you another thing. We treat our teachers horribly in this state. They are leaving in flocks, and part of that is because we don't give them the necessary raises they need. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ferry. Mr. Mata?
Well, we knew from the very beginning that the voucher scam was nothing more than a voucher scam that aimed to siphon public tax dollars away from our already underfunded and overcrowded public schools to subsidize the private education of the privileged and wealthy few. And here's the thing, 90% of Tennessee students attend public schools. 90% of Tennessee students attend public schools. And as a proud product of Tennessee's public school system, I am committed to making sure that I'm joining alongside our local school boards in advocating against privatizing our education. Public tax dollars belong in public schools, period.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Thank you. Public schools and vouchers, my goodness. Who thought of that? My great aunt was the first and only graduate. The first year there was a public school in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, Central. There were 17 students that started that year, but it was the year of the swine flu epidemic. And by the end of the year, either they were dead or they had had to go home to run the farm, because most people were in farms. I am so weary of the mistreatment of my teachers and my students. It is unacceptable that we have refused over $1 billion a year for the past 2 years. So many challenges could be solved with this money. We deserve better. We also deserve people to vote for those of us sitting up here that are willing to fight for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Averwater?
Every child in Rutherford County deserves access to a high-quality education. And every parent in Rutherford County deserves the right to choose what education system is best for their unique child. However, to achieve that, we must fully fund our public schools. And it is disappointing that the state of Tennessee, any legislator would vote to take money from the public schools and give it to a private entity. Out in the rural areas of District 13, if 5 students leave a school to go to a charter school, if they leave Eagleville to go to charter school, that's $40,000. That's a teacher's salary, which is a whole other topic. But that's a teacher's salary. We can't afford to lose a teacher in Eagleville School.
Thank you. Mr. Yancey?
As a proud product of the public school system and also a former public school educator, I am not for school vouchers, but let's talk about what it really is. It's the idea that dollars follow the student, right? Which sounds good, okay? And we hear choice and parent choice and school choice, but we forget one word, and the one word is if. It's a school choice if the school chooses your child. It's a parent's choice if you're able to get your child to the school. And so I think it's important that we discuss that and talk about the limitations. And in addition to, when we think about private schools, which I have nothing against, by the way, but they don't have to take care of your child, and they don't have to service your child if they have certain needs and educational needs where your public school does. So public dollars stay in public schools, that simple.
Thank you. Mr. Marcum?
Rutherford County has amazing school systems, fantastic school systems with great leadership, great superintendents, great school boards, fantastic teachers, principals, etc. Yet they are financially struggling to keep up with the cost of growth and the demand for the exceptional public school system that we do have. There's a lot of challenges with that are very unique to Rutherford County. There are other communities that are experiencing growth, that are having to deal with these unfunded mandates that do come down from the state that local tax dollars have to make up. But the problems that we're experiencing in Rutherford County are pretty unique and much more to an extreme than those other communities. And we need someone in the legislature that's going to advocate, that's going to yell that from the rooftops, and really prioritize fast-growing counties, Rutherford County, and fixing a lot of these issues that have popped up as a result of this new funding formula when it comes to how we're going to pay for the cost of growth and to continue to educate our children in these fantastic public schools.
Thank you. Our next question will be answered first by Ms. Brown. You'll have 1 minute to answer this question. The Surgeon General reported that gun violence is a public health crisis and the leading cause of death for children and teens. How would you propose to resolve this issue?
Oops, excuse me. I was pushing the button when I shouldn't have been. I believe that we need to repeal every gun law that has been passed recently because they're doing us harm. They're doing our children harm. We need to have common sense gun laws. We need permits for both conceal and open carry handguns. We need to be banning ghost guns. We need to make sure that our guns are secure in our homes, not in our vehicles, because cars are broken into. It's no good if it's in your glove box. That's not a secure location. I feel really passionately about that. I've been a former gun owner, and safety is always first. We need to make changes.
Thank you. Mr. Ferry?
Yes, thank you for the question. I believe that the state could be doing a lot more, and instead they have passed bills that have made the situation worse. So they did pass a bill years ago that said it was okay to leave your gun in your car while you're at work. Well, this has led to lots of thefts, gun thefts, putting more guns on the street. So there is common sense gun legislation out there that doesn't infringe on the Second Amendment that we could be doing and our state is not doing. Safe storage laws, mandatory background checks, mandatory training. We also need to close the gun show loophole. You know, it's inexcusable that people can just go to a gun show and buy a gun and there's no background checks or anything else. So the state could be doing a lot more. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mata?
Well, as you mentioned, gunshot wounds are the leading cause of death among children and teens in Tennessee, and that right there is a policy choice. That is a policy decision. I have stood with educators, students, grieving mothers, calling on our state leaders to take meaningful action, only to be met with hostility, and only to be met, as we saw in this past legislative session, arming our teachers. I have talked to parents and educators all across District 49 and from across the aisle, and nobody is in favor of arming teachers. We should be arming our teachers with resources, better pay, dignity, and respect, not guns. And it is now more than ever time, it's overdue for us to making sure that we are passing meaningful action for common sense gun violence prevention policies where folks can own guns in a safe and responsible manner. And that begins by making sure that we are prioritizing the needs of our children and our families over the interests of the gun lobby.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Thank you. Apparently today, Tennessee is 5th for firearm homicide of children. Tennessee is number 7 for overall firearm homicides. 80% of American adults stress about mass shootings. What in the world is going on? But I think first we should address the fact that we have the lowest voter turnout of any state in the country. I do believe that if people voted for what they feel and what they believe, that things could happen very quickly. And for those of you that are gun rights advocates, we don't care about your guns. We do care about our kids. And I'm pretty darn disappointed that you don't seem to care as much as we do.
Thank you. Ms. Averwater?
Well, thank you. I'm pro Second Amendment. I'm a proud licensed concealed carry handgun permit holder. I do practice responsible gun ownership, and it's how I was brought up. And I believe that one of the most important parts is education. We have to be educating the people who purchase firearms, who maintain firearms, and who are exposed to firearms, how to properly store them, how to clean them, and how to make sure that they are used in not negative ways. And I don't know if anyone knows this, but at Murfreesboro Police Department, you can pick up for free a safety lock for your firearm. And in my household, every gun is locked when not in use. And I think that's important to public safety.
Thank you. Mr. Yancey?
The sad reality is that we're all susceptible to gun violence, and that's scary. I have a family member who recently came back from Europe, and immediately there's anxiety about the gun violence that we have in America, which we know is preventable, by the way. I'm for responsible gun ownership. I grew up with weapons. I have friends who are law enforcement officers and federal agents and military personnel. I'm a military brat. And so I'm comfortable with a firearm. I'm not comfortable with the amount of untrained people that have access to firearms. And some of those may be mentally unstable, and we're not doing any checks for that. The interesting part about it is that our state legislature has already kind of set a blueprint for what we think could be responsible, which is let's get back to having permits. Let's get back to background checks, psychological evaluations, and doing some training. That's really a big thing for me. If you got a firearm, I agree with Ms. Averwater here that be trained, know how to use that thing instead of what we're doing now. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marcum?
We need to continue to invest and improve the gun safety education programs that the state legislature has enacted over the past couple legislative sessions. And to add to that, find ways and continue to invest in some programs that already currently exist and incentivizing and encouraging safe storage of firearms. You know, I would be happy and am excited to support Representative Mike Sparks' bill that provided an incentive and a tax relief on on safe storage options, on gun safes, and other options there. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pant?
Yes, we saw last year an incredible amount of young people show up to the Capitol and protest because they are a generation that grew up with active shooter drills. They are a generation that saw that have been most affected by this because it's the #1 killer of teens and children. And even my daughter's preschool was doing active shooter drills, codename Butterfly. And whenever I got that email, I burst into tears because our legislators were not listening to our young people who were protesting in incredible numbers. And it really energized me to see that the young people care. And it infuriates me that our legislative leaders do not. And I just want common sense gun legislation. I'm so sorry, but I'm for the Second Amendment. If you want to have a gun, please just be licensed and trained. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question will be answered first by Mr. Ferry. What is your position on a woman's right to bodily autonomy, i.e. the right to choose?
I am absolutely for a woman's right to choose. Let me be frank about something. Nobody wants an abortion. It's it's a safe procedure, but it's a medical procedure. Nobody wants to have to make that choice if they have to make it. It's a last resort. Some women have to make it for medical reasons, but some women have to make it for other reasons. But we're not doing enough for the children that are already here. Look at what is happening with the Department of Children's Services. We have chronically underfunded that department, and we have kids who are sleeping on the floors of the offices. So we're not doing a good job of taking care of our own kids. And I think it's something like 1 out of 5 children in Tennessee are food insecure. That is egregious, in my opinion. We should be doing whatever we can to make sure that everyone has the proper needs. But going back to this, I'm absolutely for a woman's right to choose. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mata?
Well, I believe that a person's decision about their body should be between themselves, their doctor, and their family. Period. I think that right now what we're seeing from extremist lawmakers in our state legislature, just in recent months, more than 10,000 women have had to flee the state of Tennessee to seek the medical care that they need, that is life or death, to seek an abortion. And that is unacceptable, and again, is a result of neglect and leadership failure from our state legislature. They talk about being pro-life, but there's nothing pro-life about that. It has always been about controlling women.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
Amen. I can't believe that I'm having this conversation because Roe was enacted when I was 16 years old. I never knew fear all my life until 2 years ago when young women that I knew had become pregnant. Suddenly, I was afraid. I was afraid for them. I was afraid for their family. I was afraid for their doctors. I have been terrified ever since, and that's one of the many reasons I'm running for office. We deserve better. We deserve representation. But people, we got to vote. We got to get out there and vote. And it's that simple. You can look down this line and see an entire group of people that will protect you, your rights, women's rights, because if everybody doesn't matter, nobody matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Averwater?
Thank you. As a female Christian in this community, I am pro-life, and I will fight to protect the most vulnerable portion of our population, and that is the unborn child.
Thank you. Mr. Yancey?
For the record, I'm for all people's bodily autonomy, but this question is about women specifically, so I'm going to answer the question. A woman's body is a woman's decision. When we think about decisions require a process. And we have to trust that whatever the decision is, they have gone through that process. Whatever that process is, not for me to tell them what that process is. I am for a legal and accessible abortion. Let me give you a quick story about a couple maybe who has been notified that if they were to get pregnant, that they're at risk of one or both lives being gone. They're already dealing with that trauma. But in the state of Tennessee, and even if that family has done everything possible, vasectomy, birth control, whatever that may be, they are burdened by going out of state to get this procedure done. And so when elected, I will reverse the trigger law. I'll work to reverse that trigger law so that reproductive rights will be back like they should be.
Thank you. Mr. Marcum?
Yeah, I'm pro-life, and I've knocked on over 8,000 doors in the 34th district, and the voters are overwhelmingly pro-life as well. I often say that I'm pro-life from the womb to the tomb, and do believe that that to the tomb part is left out of a lot of conversations in public policy now, and we'll definitely prioritize that part of it as well.
Thank you. Ms. Pant?
I strongly believe that this decision should be between the woman, her family, and her doctor, period. And any barriers that we put up with policy is life-threatening to many women who need emergency care. Or, honestly, this is about the freedom to choose their own life. I know. Being pregnant is scary. It is hard. Having a child can destroy your body in ways that you'll never recover. And then these women have to go back to work 6 weeks later. That is not pro-life policy at all. I am pro-life womb to tomb as well. And if that means that we need to talk about what pro-life really means and get away from this partisan party politics and start having more robust conversations about this.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Yes, I firmly believe that every person deserves the fundamental right to make decisions about their own body, free from government interference. Like Beth, we're of similar age, and I was appalled and deeply, deeply disturbed with the overturning of Roe v. Wade. To think that my daughter and perhaps her grandchildren do not have the same rights that I had growing up is just unheard of. We need to reverse this here at the state level, and obviously we need to take care of it at a national level. We need to take our rights back.
Thank you. This next question will be answered first by Mr. Mata. Do you agree that unhoused citizens should be criminalized?
Absolutely not. And I think that the same extremists who are talking about pro-life are the same ones who are criminalizing the least among us. And I think that what we need to be doing is making sure that we are working together to make sure that everybody has the access to resources, services, and programs that they need to be able to truly thrive in our communities. Most of these folks are veterans, and we have to be doing way better than what we're currently saying. We are called to love our neighbor as our own and to lift up the marginalized, and that is exactly what I'm committed to doing in our state legislature.
Thank you. Ms. Smith?
It's hard to imagine in the state of Tennessee that anyone would think it was a good idea to make a homeless person criminal. That's not who we are. We never have been. We take care of our own. Remember us? We take care of our neighbors. I don't know how anyone can vote for people that do otherwise. I simply don't understand. But one thing I know is sometimes throwing money at a situation is a good thing. So far, let's see, we've refused, so many billions in education. Right now we have a $672 million bank account sitting that should be spent for the underprivileged. And yet we hand out a $1.6 billion tax break to corporations, and we don't even know who they are because there is no transparency. I have a feeling a lot of the reason that...
Thank you. Ms. Averwater.
It's important to say that there's nothing inherently criminal about being unhoused or homeless. That person did not choose to be that way. There is a reason that they are without a house and without people to look after them. So I think the most important thing we should do is invest in our education system, invest in our mental health initiatives, and invest in our community so that we can reduce the number of houseless and homeless people in our community.
Thank you. Mr. Yancey?
I was once homeless. Fortunately, I had friends that were able to give me a place to stay. And I don't think I'm a criminal, so I'm not for criminalizing homelessness. If you get a chance, I challenge you to speak to a homeless person. Many of them have very stories like ours. The difference is that they went through some type of tragedy, whether it was divorce, loss, depression, whatever it may be, and no different than us. And they came on hard times. I think the worst thing we can do is criminalize somebody who's already at their lowest. When we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, shelter is like the basic foundation of what we need, food and shelter. I think rather than criminalizing them, I think we need to find a way to house them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marcum?
I'm going to give you all your time back. No.
Thank you. Ms. Pant?
Absolutely not. We cannot criminalize our homeless neighbors. And I think we also need to talk more about how our systems are not built to help these people anyway. Make no mistake, most of us are one diagnosis or one tragic accident away from homelessness ourselves. We need to remember that these people don't make anybody money, and so they're not important. They make money when they get put into the prison industrial complex. They're worth more there than they are worth on the streets. And whenever we talk about being pro-life and working families, what's the top of your budget? I'm pretty sure your mortgage or your rent is number one. I feel like we need to use the government less. We need to run it less like a fiscally responsible corporation or business and run it more like a responsible family. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Absolutely not. I believe that it is the responsibility of all state and local governments to enact policies, develop programming, and fully fund those programs to ensure that every citizen has a safe and clean shelter to sleep in. The U.S. Supreme Court just made a ruling criminalizing being homeless. Shame on them. Justice Kagan argued there is no difference between these two things. For an unsheltered homeless person, sleeping in public is like breathing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ferry?
Yeah, I believe we should not be criminalizing the homeless here in Tennessee or this country. As it's stated, we are not so far from that. Anyone is one accident away from living on the streets. And these are people who deserve to be treated with respect, with dignity, and the money is there. We can spend money housing these folks, but more than that, not only have we criminalized them, but we have demonized them and made it harder for them to get jobs, harder for them to get the resources they need. Sure, we've got some great resources at the library, but that's not enough. We're not doing enough in Rutherford County. We're not doing enough in the state of Tennessee. We're not doing enough in this country, but we can do better.
Thank you. This will be the last question, so I'll just remind all of the candidates that you'll have 2 minutes to answer the question plus give your closing remarks. This question will be answered first by Ms. Smith. Food insecurity in Tennessee is higher than the national average. Vanderbilt's Child Health Poll reports that over 40% of Tennessee families experience food insecurity. How do you think the state legislature could address this issue?
Well, gosh, they could begin by accepting federal funds, the billions of dollars that they have offered the state of Tennessee that have been refused to we're on the menu here, people. And I'm hoping that you'll vote for us so we can get a seat at the table. Because then we can accept federal funding and we can use it well. We can actually have transparency. That's right, accountability for where the money goes. 40% of Tennesseans with food insecurity. It's kind of personal when you've majored in agriculture. It's really personal when you've spent your entire life working in that industry. It is extremely disappointing that so many Tennesseans have not voted. You need to vote, people. You have options this year. You are worthy of better. The money is out there. I have lots of ideas on how to improve food insecurity, and it would start with something I've been doing for 15 years, which is vegetable gardens at schools and in communities. It starts that simply. And talk about behavior modification. My goodness, we have so many hungry children in school. If you've ever spent time in a school, you would know that there are many hungry children showing up for school every day. There's not one school that I taught in that did not have a food pantry and a clothing pantry. Most people that go into those schools are very shocked at that, but it is real. So let's do better, because we deserve better. So vote for the people that will vote for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Averwater?
A hungry student can't be expected to learn in a classroom. First, the legislature last year wanted to reduce the school meal program, and now they want to steal money from public schools through the proposed voucher program. And those are issues with me, and that's why I'm running for State House of Representatives in District 13. I am running in the Republican primary, and my opponent, who isn't here tonight, felt that personal fundraising for his campaign was more important than answering these difficult questions that you all faced with us tonight. And they were difficult. They were not all easy. And we appreciate you asking them and letting us answer them and express our beliefs. I'm running on public schools, public safety, and public roads, because all three of those things are paid by you, the voters and the taxpayers. I'm a fiscal conservative, but I'm here to advocate for each person in Rutherford County, and I would appreciate your vote on August 1st. And don't forget, early voting starts tomorrow.
Thank you. Mr. Yancey?
I am a recipient of free and reduced lunch as a child. Didn't know what that meant when I was a kid. It meant that our family didn't have money. And I'm for us doing the same thing for our Tennessee students. We did it during COVID. Unfortunately, our elected official voted against it and didn't make any sense to me. It's just frustrating to think when I was a school teacher and I had to put snacks in my classroom. You don't really realize how many kids don't eat. And a lot of kids don't eat. The only meals they get are from the school. So I think that's one area that the state where we can support food insecurity. I also like the idea of ending grocery tax. That's been put out there, so that'd be a great thing. And we need to do something more with supporting our local food banks. Try not to get too emotional here. I'm running because our elected officials have not been listening to us. They ain't listening to me. They're not listening to you. They're not listening to medical providers. They're not listening to educators. They're not listening to crying children. They're not listening to crying mothers. They're going about to get along. They're going along to get along. Hope I was able to earn your vote tonight. If I have, please vote for me. My name is Jonathan Yancey. I'm running to be your next state representative here in District 13. I thank you for this time. I also have a little bit of chip on my shoulder because when I first started running, I was told that 90% of all first-time candidates lose. I have gone against the odds my entire life, and I'm against the odds right now, but I'm willing to fight because I am a story of success. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Marcum?
First, we need to ensure that dollars that are set aside, especially federal dollars, for poverty programs are used and actually spent for those programs that benefit the most people and the people that truly need it. We had over $700 million from the federal government that was allocated and designated for programs that would have helped in these areas, and ensure that money is spent and not sitting in a reserve account. Also, I'll add, I fully support the elimination of the grocery tax. We're one of only 13 states that continues to tax groceries. Of the 10 states that have no state income tax, we are still the only one that continues to tax groceries. Absolutely support that as the next tax cut in the state of Tennessee. Really appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight, running in the Republican primary on August 1st. have ran a heck of a campaign, have worked hard at it, and I wanted to mirror what the representation style would be with me in Nashville. Someone who shows up, someone who is present, someone who works with our local elected officials to tackle the biggest issues facing our community, the cost of growth. How are we going to continue to pay for the cost of growth? My opponent, Tim Rudd, like he has in the past, I put it on the backs of property tax payers for years and years and years, and that cannot continue. Really excited about the opportunity. I think we need more folks in office that listen to the folks in their districts. I'm going to listen to the folks in Christiana, Midland, Rockville, Eagleville, Versailles more than any silk suit wearing lobbyist in Nashville. I'm going to show up, I'm going to be present, and work every single day with that weight that there are 75,000 people that you are working for and need to remain accessible and present. I would appreciate your vote. Once again, running in the Republican primary August 1st. Enjoyed getting the opportunity to reconnect with so many folks throughout this process and would be honored to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Pant.
40% of our children are facing food insecurity. That is so scary. And I'll tell you, a lot of that is also because people have lost their relationship to good, healthy food that comes from growing crops, growing gardens. And I see a vast network of community gardens at our schools, at our hospitals, at our nursing homes, in neighborhoods. And not only are we working to feed each other and feed our children healthy food that they learn how to grow themselves, but also fight the loneliness epidemic that so many people are facing and try and combat against our only food choices are Kroger, Walmart, like these grocery stores that feed us packaged plastic food and that goes straight into a landfill. We have to start thinking differently about where we're getting our food and how we're spending our money. And so I like to think of myself like I'm a millennial. I grew up in the industrial age, and we are firmly in the information age now, guys. We are in a completely different age of humanity because we have computers in our hands. We know that there are solutions to our problems, and we just need our legislatures to catch up. And so I'm running as a 21st century candidate because we have the brain science, we have the knowledge that we need. We just have to reform our systems, and we have to start making different choices. But we need to also make sure that we're building robust and resilient communities around this so that we don't have to rely on the government so much. We can lean on each other. And, my birthday is tomorrow, the first day of early voting. I'm turning 34 in District 34, and so I hope that you'll support me and make this the best birthday of my entire life. Thank you.
Ms. Brown.
Oh, thank you. Well, here's a novel idea. How about if we raise minimum wage to $15 an hour so that folks would be able to perhaps afford to buy more food and cover their other expenses? That's a good place to start, I think. Also, I'm concerned with the fact that we have programs in place, such as SNAP, WIC, and the TANF programs that are not fully taken advantage of. For example, the Tennessee Justice Center reports that only 39% of eligible households participate in WIC. So there's a population that we're missing as a state, and mothers and young babies and children up to the age of, I believe, 5 that are not getting their needs met through that program. So we need to do something about that. So thank you all for coming tonight, and for those of you at home that are watching either now or later, as I will be doing. Thank you for your time and attention. I hope that you leave with a better understanding of who I am, but also how I plan to be an effective champion for District 37. Representative Charlie Baum has had 5 years voting against the needs and wishes of our district. Isn't it time to put a fighter to work for you and your families? I'd appreciate your vote during early voting, which is, as Amelia said, starts tomorrow, or if you don't make that, August 1st, and then on Election Day, November 5th. You can find me at www.votecherrybrown.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Ferry.
Thank you so much. Yes, we could be doing a lot more. We could be fully funding our schools, which again, we have been chronically underfunding for years. And we could be fully funding school lunch programs, which our state legislature voted against, which is not pro-life. Also, what was mentioned earlier, the TANF money, the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. This is free federal aid that has been given to us, and we are sitting on a reserve of about $700 million. Our state refuses to spend that money. And in fact, my opponent, Brian Terry, was once in charge of that money. He was put in charge of that money. And later, the media asked him, hey, what's going on with that? And he said, well, I don't know. You're going to have to ask somebody else. That is completely inexcusable. We should be focused on spending that money and other money. Let me just tell you, when it comes to aid for rich individuals or corporations, that money gets to them lickety-split. There's no delays. There's no computer problems. But when it comes to aid for everyone else, there's some sort of snafu. Recently, there was a SNAP backlog with the food stamps. There was a backlog with the computer system, and I think over 5,000 people were affected by that. Recently, the numbers came down only because they kicked people off the rolls. So that's not pro-life right there, in my opinion. And going back to this, we're not fully funding our schools. We're not fully funding health care. Medical bankruptcy is the #1 bankruptcy in Tennessee. We have a healthcare crisis in this state. We have an opioid epidemic in this state. And we're doing things, but we're not doing enough. So I want to see a big change in Nashville, and I don't think that Brian Terry is interested in that. In fact, he voted for an extreme abortion ban that leaves no exceptions for rape, incest, or the life of the mother. That's not pro-life either. So my name is Matt Ferry, and I'm running for State House 48. Please vote for me on November. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mata.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think it's making sure that we're working together to bring about free lunches in schools. Just this last legislative session, we saw that legislation presented and it failed, and that's unacceptable. And for so many Tennesseans and for so many Tennessee students, that free lunch could be their only meal of the day. I know that growing up, there were times where I wouldn't be able to have a free lunch because my school lunch debt was already maxed out. So I think that this is the bare minimum that we can be doing for Tennessee families. We also have to work together to ensure that we are eliminating the grocery tax. Tennessee is one of the 13 states that currently has a grocery tax, and it's time that we work together to eliminate it. I've been talking to folks all across the district about the issues most important to them, and the grocery tax elimination is almost always brought up. We have to make sure that we are giving working families more money in their pocket. Just this last session, my opponent actually voted against the grocery tax cut and voted in favor of an almost $2 billion corporate tax cut. His priorities could not be any more clear, and here's the bottom line, y'all. Right now, in Rutherford County, we are lacking true leadership in our state capital. You see it every day when you drive by overcrowded and underfunded public schools, when you see, or when you're waiting in traffic for more than 45 minutes to an hour on your way to work, right? And you see it and you're seeing it right now, right? With that they didn't even take the time to show up. I'm ready to show up every single day for District 49, to show up for Rutherford County. And it's time to go up to our state capital to take meaningful action, to work together to address the real solutions to the real issues that are happening here in District 49, and I'd be honored to earn your support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Once again, on behalf of the League of Women Voters and MT Law, the Rutherford County Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority, and Rutherford County, I want to thank all of the candidates for their participation today. I also want to thank Mr. Lee Harris, the Rutherford County Creative Services Manager, and the Rutherford County Information Technology Department for their help in both promoting and presenting this program on the Rutherford County Government Access television channel. I want to encourage all Rutherford County eligible citizens to vote. Early voting begins tomorrow, July 12th, and goes through July 27th. You may early vote at any one of the early voting locations. On Election Day, which is August 1st, you will be able to vote at any one of the voting centers located throughout Rutherford County. To find out which location will be best for you, or if you are interested in voting by absentee ballot, visit the Rutherford County Election Commission at election.rutherfordcountytn.gov. Also, consider utilizing the League of Women Voters Vote 411 website for information on voting and candidates' responses to questions asked. Please exercise this important right to determine who else will serve you. Remember, your vote counts. May we all close with a round of applause for the candidates, please.